Hello, hello, Confidence Through Cabaret. Heather Jean here. I'm so excited to have you with us. We are all things confidence, and this is Confidence with Coffee. This is the segment where we talk about our latest podcast episode and kind of key takeaways, at least for me, that really kind of capture the message of my weekly guest. So this week, I had the wonderful privilege to spend some time with Ramonda of Mindful Elevation Caribbean. And we talked a lot about mindfulness. We talked a lot about the choices that we have of how we speak to ourselves and how we experience joy in our life or not. You'll know that the Vodcast episode, if you're a regular, is here on the Vodcast playlist on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to both this video and also to the Vodcast version. If you're a podcast fan, you can find Confidence Through Cabaret and this episode by searching Confidence Through Cabaret on your favorite podcast platform. You'll also find that we are on all of the social media. So everything is Confidence Through Cabaret on Facebook, on Instagram. The only exceptions are Twitter and Clubhouse, and they are at YBYWYS. On Clubhouse, I'm at Heather YBYWYS. But back to this week's episode in our podcast and vodcast episode with Ramonda from Mindful Elevation Caribbean. So we talked a lot about avoiding stress, which is obviously more ideal than managing the stress that we already have or are experiencing. And we talked about the fact that for a lot of us, we are very caring for others. And so we're doing so much more for others that we don't leave enough time or space for ourselves. And we're always saying in Confidence Through Cabaret, self care isn't selfish. So we show up perfectly imperfect. I'm in the UK, Ramonda's in the Caribbean, and so there's a delay on this episode. There's probably a little bit of crackling on it. But you know what? We show up and we share our message. And the rest of it, you just have to let go. As I always say, control the controllables. So, excuse me, we talked about the experience of something like being in traffic and how we can get into our head about somebody who cut you off or how frustrating the traffic is moving so slowly, or whatever it is that can be disruptive to our day when we're sitting in traffic. Or we can choose to say, okay, I'm doing traffic. We can put on the radio or a podcast, and we could be present in that car or in that vehicle in that time. So what we experience is from ourselves. It's not from the outside world. The outside world gives us circumstances and it gives us situations, and we choose how we internalize it. So we spent a fair bit of time in this episode talking about not being in the past and not being in the future and the what ifs, but being in the now. And that's where mindful elevation comes in. So uh, things like breathing, taking time to breathe, things like taking time for yourself to go for a walk or do some exercise or read a book or whatever it is that serves you. So I know that this won't be the first time you've heard this, that self-care isn't selfish and that we can give more to others if we refill our cup. We can't pour from an empty cup. You've heard all of those things. And they are truisms because they're true. But what I love about this episode is that we're talking about the fact that it's easier said than done. And so, ways of avoiding stress and ways of having time for ourselves. I'm just checking my notes. I have so many notes here. Uh, Committing to yourself, making commitments to yourself or promises to yourself about the day. Put it on the mirror or say it into the mirror or write it somewhere that you're going to see it on a post it note or somewhere that you can see it through the day. Let's have a listen to this clip about how, when we're harsh with ourselves, we really can be choosing to be positive to ourselves.
we can be harsh to ourselves neither, because of course other thoughts will come up, and you might think about something that have to happen tomorrow. That's normal. But it's like you said, as long as you can bring yourself back to, okay, I'm taking my walk now, so I'm enjoying this. Thank you for the thought, but I'm putting it aside now because I'm taking my walk to relax myself, enjoy the view and whatever is going on around me. And after, if it's necessary, then I will deal with whatever thought came up. So we have to be, how you call it, positive to ourselves too, not break ourselves down because I want to be walking and I want not to be thinking about anything. But our brain, that's how it works. It, here and there a thought comes up, or something that we have to do will come up. So
Oh, I love that clip. And it's really true. We can be very harsh on ourselves. And so in this episode, we talk about taking time to thank yourself. Gratitude practice, if you talk to anybody, you know, all of the world's wisdom leaders would say that gratitude is a core key practice. And I used to, say thank you to myself. I used to, think positively. I used to do all of those right things. Not be harsh with ourselves, not, go, oh, you're such an idiot, but actually kind of go, okay, well, you tried. But I was going through the motions. And there's a very fundamental difference between doing those things, saying thank you to yourself. One of the other language patterns that I love that Ramonda uses is I'm doing my best rather than I'm trying to. So I'm trying to think positive is very different to I am doing my best to think positive. That is a key takeaway that I will be shifting immediately. I'm not trying, I am doing my best to. Um, but I think, a lot of times we just go through the motions. And so I've meditated, I've exercised, I've done my great gratitude practice, I've done journaling, and tick, tick, tick. There's a very big difference between that and actually engaging our body and mind in it. So, for example, rather than me trying to think of three things, I used to try and think of three things that were about my personal life in a day, and three things that were about my work life or my surroundings, and then three things about me personally. And so I could list those three things. Now I do one. I do one personal, and then I do one related to work life, and then I do one related to myself. And you'll know if you've been around Confidence Through Cabaret for a little while, we talk about these lifelines a lot, the personal life, work life, and stage life. And so when I think about or write down my what I'm grateful for and each evening, I spend about 10 to 15 seconds with my one thing. So if I'm thinking about something that I'm grateful for in relation to my work life or my career, then I write it down and I spend about 10 to 15 seconds really thinking about that and letting that flow through me in mind and body. And then the same with my personal life, like what happened in my personal life. I spent time talking to my daughter, or I spent time talking to a friend, and I really enjoyed and appreciated how helpful or calming it was. And I spend 10 to 15 seconds engaging in that. And then my third gratitude is for me personally and for what I'm grateful for about me. Sometimes that's not so easy if it's been a tough day, but it might be that I'm grateful for my health, or that I'm grateful for my strength, or that I'm grateful for my courage, or of course my confidence. And so that helps me because when I close my eyes and focus for 10 or 15 seconds on my courage or my confidence or my strength, then I can really engage and live that. And that's so much better than writing out these lists. And then, it's like writing out affirmations. A lot of times we write out affirmations and we write them out several times in a day, Sometimes we'll take a statement and write it out 10 times. That's a really great practice. But if you're just writing it for the sake of writing it and you're really not internalizing it, you'd be better to write it once and really focus in on that moment. So I love what we're talking about here about being kind to ourselves instead of being harsh with ourselves, saying thank you to yourself throughout the day. It helps create that pattern of celebrating successes and noticing the positives and being grateful to ourselves. And then shifting that I'm trying to I'm doing my best to. And those are my key takeaways from this week's episode. Go check out the whole, I'm still checking my notes here because there's so many things I want to share with you. Go check out the whole episode. We talk about choosing reaction. We talk about breathing. We talk about taking time for ourselves and how difficult that can sometimes be. We talk about we're always chasing, we're always kind of choosing our reaction, but we need to be patient. A lot of us need that to develop that patience. And some of that comes from our beliefs, and some of that comes from believing that we're worthy. And some of that is about slowing down to really take that in. And I know that when I'm at my most stressful, which is right about now, I'm at a limit of stress that in my personal life, then I spend some time really thinking about my choices and trying to be patient to not make it all go away or take action to stop it or change it, but to actually kind of breathe in and allow that feeling and then proceed through it and be appreciative as I go through each step and thanking myself and celebrating. I've just done this, and that was hard, and I've done my best. So, share your comments, your takeaways, your tips, your questions, anything that you want to talk about, or if there's something else relating to confidence that you want to share, then drop a comment or get involved with Confidence Through Cabaret in the Facebook group or on Instagram, wherever you're most comfortable. I'm Heather Jean on the socials as well. Wherever you're most comfortable, ask away, comment, share. We love supporting and uplifting the confidence journey because we're all in this together. So I told you earlier, we are available on all of the socials as Confidence Through Cabaret, with the exception of Twitter, which is at YBYWYS, and at Heather YBYWYS for Clubhouse. And those 6 little letters stand for it is your body, and it is your world, and it is your stage. Take up space and own it. I appreciate you being here. See you next time. Bye.